During my birthday party, my spoiled cousin complained it wasn't fair I got to celebrate. My aunt then demanded people had time to go buy her something, and if there weren't any gifts, we could just share yours. I went inside and grabbed a box, but what Karen didn't know was that I'm a corporate event planner who specializes in high-stakes crisis management, and I was about to turn her entitled power play into the most spectacular public humiliation our family had ever witnessed. Let me explain exactly how a manipulative aunt and her spoiled daughter underestimated the wrong person. I'm Madison, 23, and I run Sterling Events, a boutique corporate event planning firm that handles crisis management for Fortune 500 companies. When executives need someone to navigate hostile takeovers, manage PR disasters, or coordinate damage control during corporate scandals, they call me. My annual income is $180,000, and I've built a reputation for turning high-pressure situations into strategic victories. My Aunt Karen, 41, married my Uncle David about 18 months ago, bringing her 12-year-old daughter Emily from a previous relationship into our family. From day one, Karen made it clear she expected to be treated like royalty. She'd show up to family events 45 minutes to an hour late, never apologize, and immediately start ordering people around like servants. She literally told multiple family members that she expects to be treated like a princess. The woman had zero respect for anyone and seemed to think marriage to my uncle entitled her to special treatment from our entire extended family. But the real problem was Emily. This kid had been systematically enabled into becoming the most entitled brat I'd ever encountered. And that's saying something, considering the spoiled executive's children I deal with professionally. When Emily first joined our family at age 10, she decided it was unfair that I sat at the adults' table while she had to sit with the other kids. Instead of explaining basic age-appropriate boundaries, Karen forced me to sit at the children's table. I was 20 years old sitting with kids aged 7 to 14 because a 10-year-old threw a tantrum. This became Karen's pattern. Every time Emily wanted something, Karen would manipulate the family dynamics to get it for her. Emily would steal my makeup and clothes, ruin my belongings, and when I objected, Karen would guilt-trip everyone about, making a child cry and force me to be generous. When I graduated with my bachelor's degree and my family threw a celebration party, Emily got jealous that she wasn't the center of attention. So Karen threw the exact same party the next day at the same venue, demanding equal treatment for Emily's non-achievement. What Karen and Emily never realized was that my professional background had taught me to document everything systematically and analyze behavioral patterns for strategic leverage. In corporate crisis management, you learn to identify entitled personalities quickly and understand their psychological vulnerabilities. Karen was a textbook narcissist who needed constant validation and viewed any boundary as a personal attack. Emily was being raised to believe the world owed her whatever she wanted, which created obvious weak points I could exploit when the time was right. My breaking point came at my grandmother's house for my birthday celebration. I was born in early May, but we'd delayed the party until June to ensure good weather for the garden party my grandmother had planned. The moment Karen and Emily arrived an hour late, Emily started complaining that celebrating my birthday a month after my actual birth date was unfair and meant we should celebrate her birthday too. Her birthday is November 29th, which is still a full month before Christmas, and Karen always throws elaborate parties with expensive gifts. But Emily conveniently forgot this history and launched into a 10-minute tirade about being neglected. Karen immediately caved and asked my grandmother to buy another cake and candles so we could celebrate Emily's birthday alongside mine. When Emily complained she didn't have presents, Karen announced that people could quickly buy her something, or we could share my gifts since I had plenty. The audacity was breathtaking, but I kept my expression neutral while calculating my response. In crisis management, the key is never to react emotionally when someone reveals their true character. You document it, analyze the leverage points, and plan your strategic response. That's when I asked my grandmother for a cardboard box and pretended to wrap a gift. Inside, I placed a handwritten note that read, "Congratulations on being such a spoiled brat, but don't worry, it's not your fault your entitled mother raised you that way. Hope you enjoy your present." It was calculated psychological warfare, designed to expose their behavior in the most public way possible while maintaining plausible deniability about my intentions. During the cake ceremony, Karen and Emily deliberately sang "Happy Birthday, Dear Emily" loud enough to drown out everyone else singing my name. I watched this display with professional detachment, knowing they were about to hand me the perfect opportunity for public vindication. When Emily opened my gift and started screaming about the note, Karen immediately began yelling at me, calling me names and threatening to leave. I just smiled calmly, maintaining perfect composure while she had her meltdown in front of 20-plus family members. The immediate result exceeded my expectations. Karen grabbed Emily and stormed out while the entire family watched in stunned silence. Nobody defended Karen's behavior or criticized my response. Instead, I received several quiet compliments and knowing looks from relatives who'd clearly been fed up with Karen's antics for months. My strategic calculation had been correct. Karen's pattern of manipulation had created accumulated resentment that would surface once someone finally challenged her publicly. Within 48 hours, the fallout began escalating exactly as I'd predicted. My father called with intelligence from my Uncle David, who was clearly conflicted about the situation. David understood why I'd finally spoken up, but was trying to manage Karen's rage while maintaining family relationships. More importantly, David revealed that other family members had started sending Karen texts about her unacceptable behavior, saying things they'd kept quiet for years. This was the compound effect I'd anticipated. Public exposure of Karen's manipulation would give other family members permission to voice their own frustrations. Karen was furious that what she thought would be isolated criticism of me had turned into family-wide condemnation of her behavior. She tried to position herself as the victim, claiming I'd started a hate campaign against her. But the family's response made it clear they'd been documenting her pattern of entitled behavior independently. Multiple relatives who weren't even present at my birthday party were contacting her about years of accumulated grievances. Her strategy of manipulating family dynamics through Emily's tantrums had finally backfired completely. David asked if I would meet with Karen and Emily to resolve the situation, clearly hoping to repair his marriage while maintaining family peace. I agreed, but only under strict conditions that demonstrated my strategic position. We'd meet in a public park, not their home. I would speak without interruption. They couldn't expect an apology from me, and I could leave immediately if they violated these terms. These conditions established that I was negotiating from a position of strength, not desperation. At the park meeting, I presented Karen and Emily with a comprehensive list of their entitled behavior over the past 3 years, delivered with the same professional tone I use when presenting crisis management findings to corporate boards. I documented everything: the forced seating arrangements, the stolen belongings, the hijacked celebrations, the manipulative gift-sharing demands. Karen tried to dismiss these as minor issues, but when I pointed out that the entire family shared these concerns, she couldn't maintain her victim narrative. The most satisfying moment came when David finally spoke up, telling Karen, "You asked for explanations and you got explanations. If you didn't want to hear what the problems were, why did you insist on this meeting?" Even her own husband was validating my strategic position while undermining her manipulation attempts. Emily actually apologized for ruining my belongings and hijacking my birthday, which surprised me given her mother's complete lack of accountability. But the real victory came 12 hours later, when David showed up at our house with a suitcase, asking to stay temporarily. The confrontation had exposed Karen's true character so clearly that David finally recognized the manipulation he'd been enduring. When they returned home after our park meeting, Karen had given David the silent treatment all day. then completely lost control when she overheard her coaching Emily that being demanding and disrespectful made her a strong, powerful woman, and that people who objected were scared of her power. David had finally reached his breaking point and told Karen that everything I described were documented facts, not opinions, and that if the truth made her uncomfortable, she needed to examine her behavior instead of attacking the messenger. Karen's response was to scream at him for defending me, then lock him out of their house with his belongings packed in a suitcase. Her complete meltdown had destroyed her marriage and validated every strategic calculation I'd made about her psychological profile. The compound consequences continued building over the following weeks. Karen refused to answer calls from any family member, isolating herself completely rather than acknowledge her behavior patterns. David contacted a divorce attorney and began rebuilding his relationship with our family without Karen's manipulation. Multiple relatives reached out to apologize for not speaking up sooner about Karen's treatment of me, admitting they'd been afraid of causing family drama, but were relieved someone had finally addressed the situation directly. My Uncle David moved in with my parents temporarily while he sorted out the divorce proceedings. He thanked me for forcing the confrontation that made him recognize how thoroughly Karen had been manipulating not just me, but him and the entire family structure. He'd been so focused on keeping Karen happy and maintaining his marriage that he'd enabled the systematic boundary violations and entitled behavior that had made family gatherings miserable for everyone. The most satisfying aspect was watching my strategic approach completely dismantle Karen's manipulation system. She'd built her power through emotional manipulation, victim playing, and exploiting family guilt about making children cry. But when someone with professional crisis management experience documented her behavior patterns and exposed them systematically, her entire approach collapsed. She couldn't manipulate what was now public record, witnessed by multiple family members. Karen's attempts to regain control only made things worse. She tried calling other relatives to spin her version of events, but everyone had now seen her true character in action. Her breakdown at the birthday party, her demands that Emily deserved equal treatment for no reason, and her complete meltdown when challenged had been witnessed by too many people. There was no way to rewrite the narrative when 20-plus family members had observed her behavior firsthand. 6 months later, the divorce was finalized. David got primary custody during school periods since Emily's behavior issues were clearly stemming from Karen's parenting approach, and she needed stability. Karen moved to an apartment across town and largely disappeared from family events. She'd lost her meal ticket, her social status within our family, and her platform for manipulation. The strategic exposure had cost her everything she'd been trying to maintain through entitled behavior. Emily actually thrived once separated from her mother's toxic influence for significant portions of time. With David providing consistent boundaries and my grandmother offering stability, she started learning that the world didn't revolve around her wants and that respectful behavior got better results than tantrums. It was fascinating to watch how quickly a child's behavior improves when the enabling parent is removed from the equation. David has since remarried a woman who treats everyone respectfully and doesn't view family relationships as opportunities for manipulation. Family gatherings became enjoyable again once Karen's chaos was removed from the dynamic. My grandmother frequently comments on how peaceful holidays have become without someone constantly creating drama and making unreasonable demands. The professional skills that helped me navigate this situation have actually enhanced my business reputation. Several family friends who witnessed my calm handling of Karen's manipulation have referred corporate clients to sterling events, specifically because they saw how effectively I managed a high-stress situation without losing composure. Crisis management skills translate across professional and personal contexts. Looking back, the key to success was treating Karen's manipulation like any other corporate crisis. Document everything, analyze the behavioral patterns, identify the leverage points, choose the optimal timing for confrontation, and execute a strategic response that exposes the problem while maintaining professional credibility. Emotional reactions would have made me look unstable, but strategic documentation and calculated exposure made her look unhinged while I appeared reasonable. Karen underestimated exactly the wrong person when she decided to hijack my birthday celebration. She thought she was dealing with a pushover family member who would quietly endure manipulation for the sake of keeping peace. Instead, she encountered a crisis management professional who specialized in exposing entitled behavior and turning strategic confrontations into decisive victories. Her moment of entitlement cost her a marriage, family relationships, and social status that took years to achieve but only minutes to destroy.